Okay, so we left off talking about how the nitrogen that is normally in the atmosphere or in the soil cannot be used by plants. And so we have the mutualistic rhizobacteria that live within or near plant roots that are going to put that nitrogen into forms that are usable by the plants. And how do they do that? There's this process called nitrification, which is how ammonia, or NH3, is oxidized into NO2, and then it's oxidized again into NO3. Once that nitrate is absorbed by the roots, then plant enzymes will convert it into NH4, which is ammonium. And at that point, it can be incorporated into amino acids and other organic compounds for the plant. And any remaining nitrates can be transported via the xylem. And then soil nitrogen can actually be lost by denitrifying bacteria or denitrifying bacteria, which is going to convert any leftover nitrate into nitrogen gas, which will then diffuse back into the atmosphere. And so again, that's that nutrient cycling that I was talking about in the last slide. So there has to be some way for it to get into the atmosphere again. So maybe like when the plant dies, or a whole field of plants somehow dies. I don't know really why that would happen, but if all the plants in an area die, you'd want to have a way for that nitrogen to be reintroduced into the atmosphere so it can then travel essentially and go to help other plants that need that nitrogen and other organisms. I mean, all living things are going to need nitrogen, right? Because we all have DNA and we all have proteins. Okay. Why you no switch? Hello? Oh, did I skip one? Oh, okay. So plants can also acquire nitrogen in the form of NH4, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in the ammonia form or the nitrate form first. They can directly acquire that ammonium without all the steps in between. And there are nitrogen-fixing bacteria that will convert gaseous nitrogen, so the N2 that we were just talking about, into ammonia, which then will pick up another hydrogen from the soil, and then it'll be in the form of ammonia, so the plants can, or ammonium, so the plants can just straight pick that up. And then another process is called ammonification, which is a cool word, where some decomposers will convert organic nitrogen from dead organic material into ammonium so that it can be used by the plants. So all nitrogen fixing organisms are bacteria, but not all bacteria will do nitrogen fixation. So it's kind of like a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square. All nitrogen fixing organisms are bacteria, but not all bacteria will fix nitrogen. Like I said earlier, I didn't realize I had it written on this slide, but gaseous nitrogen has a triple bond, which makes it almost inert, so that's why plants can't really use it in that form. And then legumes, so that would be like beans, so red beans, white beans, green beans, those kinds of things. Legumes are in the best possible mutualistic relationship for cycling nitrogen, and so if you want to look into more about why legumes are in the best type of mutualistic relationship, you can go in your book and read pages 813. If you're in the actual textbook, it'll be the second column on page 813 to the top of the first column on page 815. It'll give you more information about legumes. I really like dietetics and nutrition, so I think it's really cool to read up on that, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But that's why beans are so good for you, because you get nitrogen from beans, and they're in such a great relationship for nitrogen cycling that they get like jam-packed full of nitrogen, and then you eat those legumes, and then you can use that nitrogen to make your DNA and make your proteins. So pretty cool. And then just here's a picture kind of showing you all the different types of bacteria that can help to fix nitrogen into forms that are usable by the plant. And then I'm not really going to walk through the whole picture. I think you guys can read it, but then it's showing how it gets in through the roots. So pretty cool. And then, like I said, it's not always bacteria that are in the mutualistic relationship. Sometimes it's fungi, and actually, I don't know why I said sometimes. Oftentimes it is with fungi. So it has a cool name called mycorrhizae. So the mycorrhizae, or the quote-unquote fungus roots, are the most important mutualistic relationship that fungi are going to have with plants. Fungi do live in mutualistic relationships with other organisms, not just plants, but fungi and plants together are like the dynamic duo. So the plant that the fungus is living on is going to supply the fungus with sugar. And then the fungus is going to help increase the surface area for water absorption for the plant. And it's also going to supply the plant with phosphorus and other minerals from the soil. And then the fungi additionally are going to secrete growth factors that stimulate root growth and branching. So the roots will grow longer, and they'll also start branching out with the help of these fungi growth factors. And so basically it's just really help and increase that surface area for water and nutrient absorption. Fungus will also secrete antibiotics, so not just bacteria, but fungi will also secrete antibiotics. And if you think that's cool, you can read more info on pages 815 through 818 about the plant and fungus relationship. But one of the big things that they focus on in college in your intro bio class is going to be all of these mutualistic or symbiotic relationships that organisms are going to have with other organisms. Like, seriously, it's like a really major topic in biology, because when you learn about these different types of relationships, you can do things like find cures, find medicines, find all kinds of things from knowing about these different symbiotic relationships. Or you can learn how to treat things, like if it's not a mutualistic relationship, but maybe it's like a parasitic relationship where one of the organisms is being harmed and the other one is getting all of the benefits. Learning about all these types of relationships can help you learn to like treat, and how do we get rid of these parasites, and what about the host do the parasites need, so on and so forth. So I'm kind of rambling at this point, and I see that I forgot to put the parentheses at the end of this, and that is really annoying. So there we go, I fixed it. But that is everything I have for you from chapter 37. So again, you really don't need to read it. Everything you would need to know from chapter 37 is right here in this screencast. So I'll leave you with that.